Hey guys, so let's get down to it. I thought I was going to talk to you a little bit about good ideas versus feasible ideas. And the difference being basically that there are ideas, like whenever you start off, basically whenever you want to create something, odds are that you're going to have a million good ideas, but you're actually going to have very few what I call feasible ideas. And a feasible idea is something that you can actually, with the resources provided, basically execute. So one of the main reasons I believe that most startups fail these days is because you have usually a very grand idea of what you want to achieve. You usually start off having an ambition to do something, and very rarely do you have something what I call a feasible idea. For the most part, you have a really good idea. For a lot of cases, in my opinion, a good idea is something that, given the right resources and time and circumstances, could become something amazing, like something truly great. Unfortunately, very, very rarely are those ideas the ones that you can actually execute on. And the reason why that is because we live in a world where we kind of have a really high bar for a lot of stuff. Like, unfortunately, there are so many what I call like feasible ideas or great ideas or whatever. The bar is set extremely high when it comes to breaking ground in traditionally like popular applications. Like, if you wanted to create, like, you can, I challenge you today to create a new social media platform that is going to perform as well as something like Instagram and Facebook. Now, I'm not saying that it's not possible. I'm simply saying that for every maybe 100 companies who fail at doing this in any meaningful way, there's maybe one Instagram or one Facebook and so forth. It gets really, really tricky really, really quickly when you want to build something that's very massive, and a social media platform is a very massive type of project. It's the type of project that I would call it's a good idea. Unfortunately, it's not a feasible idea. It's depending on your circumstances. I mean, if you have the resources, you have the manpower, you have developers who are really encouraged by just working hard and, you know, putting it all on black or red or whatever color they use in roulette, then you have the circumstances, so it becomes a feasible idea. But for the most part, if you're starting out alone and maybe you're actually the only developer, you don't really have all that much time. I mean, I can firsthand tell you that how much I swallowed the lure and hook and like everything that had to do with microservices just a few years, like just 2 years ago, maybe something like that. I was so convinced that this would bring a great amount of value to my project. It would be the right thing for it, and it would, you know, soar my productivity to new heights. It was only when I actually tried to build it when I realized that this was a good idea. And the problem with it was that it was a good idea if I had 3 more guys like myself, or girls, whichever, basically 3 more people who could handle the extra overhead work that comes with microservices. So that became what I call a good idea. A feasible idea, or which is like maybe not as popular these days, and is called something that is, you know, it's almost like a little bit of a smell about that word, which is monoliths, which actually turns out to be the most feasible idea you could possibly have, because it's like building a monolithic application may not be the trendy thing or maybe not the scalable thing, but if you think about it, when you first start out, it's not about being, you know, trendy, or it's not about building something that is going to be the perfect fit for your situation when you have a really popular product. It's about getting something off the ground to create a proof of concept, create a starting point which you can then later migrate. And it's actually the type of thing, at least people like myself who are very passionate about coding, we get caught up in all the hype and the trends and, you know, all the great stuff that's being promoted in our community, and we forget that, you know, just because something's really cool and hip, it doesn't make it necessarily something that is feasible for you to use. So if we broaden the spectrum a little bit and we talk about what is, in my opinion, a feasible idea, or rather the starting point you should have for any project that you attempt to get to be something more than just a hobby project or something like that, I would say that you should aim for an idea that is going to provide value to a very small amount of people. The test I would like to use to kind of talk about what is, it's just going to give you a rough estimate of what a feasible idea is. Is your application going to be able to provide value to one person as well as to 1,000 people? Because that is a powerful thought. Trust me, it's really powerful. A lot of ideas, what I call good ideas, are based around your product being really popular, especially social media networks. That's the problem. The problem you're going to face is that if you need success to actually make your idea feasible, then in my opinion you're setting yourself up for a really rough time. I've known this firsthand because I'm working on such a platform, and I know how hard it is to get people invested in the platform. It gets really, really tricky, and it's something that is as unpredictable as fashion. I mean, it's also something that is extremely complicated getting really big and making it big in fashion, or any of these like kind of, shifting environments in the marketplace. It's very difficult. And honestly, if I were to start a project today, I would actually look more towards finding out how I can provide that, as I said, that base value to a small group of users. I'm actually very fortunate enough to work at a company that actually had, it's actually very funny because it's one of the core things I was saying just like a few years ago when I started at Ticketmaster. I said that in my opinion, most likely the most feasible thing for you to do today as a startup, or someone who's just thinking about, you're just starting out and making your own company or building something great, it's actually more feasible for you to create something that provides value on top of something else. In other words, at my services, it's an integration platform where you can manage different subscription services from one single application. That creates value for the first person who uses it. The first person who downloads your application is going to be able to get value from that. That is not true if you have a social media platform where the first person will literally be alone. And even the first 100 people will not get much value from a social media platform unless you have a really cool and really great community strategy, which is a very difficult thing to achieve. It's food for thought, guys. I really think that you should consider this very carefully. So let's go back and summarize what I was saying. A good idea is not necessarily a feasible idea. Start by thinking about things that are feasible for you to do, depending on your circumstances. Because trust me, if you don't, what's going to happen is that you're going to spend a lot of time convincing yourself that your good idea is feasible to pull all the way to success. And most of the time, I honestly believe, and these are the stats, it's only 1 in 15, I think, or 5 in 20 startup companies who actually make money, who actually become something more than a failed project. And I honestly think that the reason why those stats are so high is because you have more people with good ideas versus people who have a feasible idea. So that's my tip on having good ideas versus feasible ideas. And remember, bring value to one person first. Because if that is an idea that you have, if you can bring value to that one person, and then you can scale it up to 1,000, that is a very feasible idea. But if you need 1 million people to make your application a success, then you're going to have a really rough time.